Hello there. Welcome back, welcome back to the Agostino Zinga Show with your host, Agostino Zinga, and this is episode number 960, Nueve says zero of the Agostino Zinga Show, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere in the depths of East London. How you doing? How you feeling? How you doing? How you feeling? How you doing? How you feeling? Got some grease on the side of my chin. But how you doing? How you feeling? How you doing? How you feeling? Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I know it's been a while. I know I've been MIA, but I need a little bit of a whack. I need a little bit of a whack after going pedal to the metal for the last, 2.5 months it feels like. Because I kind of I can kind of judge the amount of time it's been since I've been going pedal to the metal, because I can't remember the last time I got really twisted. I can't remember the last time I got really yacked up. I can't remember the last time I got really liddy. So the last time I got really liddy was a while back, maybe 2.5 months ago properly. So it's been about that since I've been putting pedal to the metal at the random show, pedal to the metal with this flipping channel, and just trying to grind it until the end. And so far it's been pretty beneficial. I still haven't hit my target yet. My target on both channels was 500 members. I think I actually wrote on my New Year's Eve resolution tweet, because I always go back to it. I'm always flipping, double checking my pinned tweet on my Twitter, all of my New Year's Eve resolution, just to kind of check and make sure I'm on track. But I do remember, oh Jesus Christ, I did write actually on my pinned tweet that I wanted to have 1,000 members on a random show. So far I've got about nearly 200, about 194. 500 members on Tazs. I don't have anywhere close to that. I think I have like 40 something on here, so I'm very far off the target, but still we are going. But I needed that little bit of a break to kind of rest and recharge, not because it's very strenuous, just because it's good to kind of recharge and go again. I think once I get both channels up and running, once both channels are self-sufficient, or in terms of being able to run themselves and netting me a stable amount in terms of money wise, I'm still going to be going pedal to the metal. It's not really that difficult. It's not really that hard. I know there are streamers out there that try and say, oh my god, content creating and streaming is harder than having a 9 to 5. No, it isn't. It's way easier. Yes, maybe in terms of time, you might put more time into it because you're enjoying it. It's sort of like the same thing when it comes to being an entrepreneur, having a small business, right? Or being a small business owner. Usually you end up working 10 times harder than you would at your actual job, because most likely whatever you're pursuing in your small business is something that you're passionate about. So you're willing to put in more of the hours. And I think it happens even in jobs. I'm sure some of you guys out there have had jobs where you've actually felt way more of a calling. You felt like that was your thing. You really kind of clicked with it. It was something that you kind of got. You ended up putting way more hours. I know I did in some previous roles. You end up staying there after, until 8 p.m. You end up coming in the next day in the morning at 8 a.m. You know what I mean? Sometimes you'd open your laptop and check emails on the weekends, no bother. You didn't even want any money, or you weren't really asking for any credit. You just kind of enjoyed doing what you're doing and wanted to basically, get a head start on whatever you had to do on a Monday. So if you love something and you enjoy it, you're going to obviously spend an obscene amount of time going over it. But I think the drudgery day-to-day is something that people cannot compare to a 9 to 5. Whenever I have like a bit of a lull moment, I always remember that particular moment when I was working in my 9 to 5, and I had that bit where I basically couldn't stream for a week. Like, I was so chock-a-block with training and just doing the fucking 9 to 5 job and coming back home and going to the gym, that there was literally no time in the day for me to make content. Zero. Not enough time that I wanted anyway, because I think at the time I only had like a 2-hour window or something, and obviously I wanted more time because I wanted to do more stuff. So it used to really frustrate me, and I remember that feeling of like your time not really being yours. As soon as you wake up, you have to kind of be somewhere at a particular set time. You can't necessarily be flexible with that set time unless you're on holiday and shit. And sometimes forget even just doing a 9 to 5 on a desk job, because I think some people who talk about that whole debate about 9 to 5s being harder or easier than the streaming content creation, I think people really discount or put aside the jobs that people are talking about aren't like desk jobs, 9 to 5s in like offices. We're talking about working in fucking Tesco Express, We're talking about working in fucking Domino's. We're talking about working in fucking, I don't know, Amazon warehouses. Those type of jobs are way harder than streaming content. I don't care what anyone says. Don't listen to anybody. This stuff is easy. You talk about stuff you like. For instance, some people will sometimes DM me and ask me, "Oh, how do I get started? A, B, and C." Just talk about what you're into. Just talk about what you're into. The stuff that you're not into, don't even try and get into it. Don't even try and talk about it because you want to get into the algo. You want to jump on the hype train. Just talk about the things that you're into ad nauseum, and eventually you'll find your audience. Or maybe you won't. You just do it for the fun of it. It doesn't fucking matter. But nobody can say that doing something at a set time, having somebody micromanage you, having to fucking, you know, put in a request for holiday, sometimes in some workplaces having to ask permission to leave your desk, go to the toilet, having a really strict fucking timeline in terms of when you can take your lunch, and having managers that, you know, that really monitor what time you come, what time you take your lunch and come back from your lunch, all that sort of stuff. You know, ongoing performance reviews, group work, ongoing training. It's exhausting. So I don't want anyone to ever get it confused. 9 to 5s are nowhere as hard as doing this shit. This shit is fucking easy. This shit is not that big of a deal. It doesn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things. You're not entitled or deserving of a career doing this sort of thing. If you want to actually have something that you think you deserve in terms of time, exchange for money, go and get a fucking job. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody needs this. Like, if I disappear tomorrow, nobody would cry. Nobody will be fucking mourning it. It is what it is. You'll pick up somebody else to go listen to. It really isn't that deep. But do not listen to anybody that tells you that 9 to 5s are harder than doing this. It isn't. It really isn't. It really flipping isn't. But again, what do I know? Absolutely nothing. Talking about it being easy. Big up my guy Moist Critical. Big up Blood Clot Moist Critical. I knew there was a reason why I like this guy. And the reason why I like this guy is because of this amazing post that he made the other day, where he essentially decided to, you know, share with everybody his earnings on Twitch and his earnings on YouTube off the back of another video he made the previous days before, where he basically announced that he's turning off all memberships on all of his channels, all subs. So subs and memberships for people like myself who do like live streaming content, whatever, is kind of like your bread and butter, I guess, in the roundabout way of talking, because that kind of gives you like a base of what you're gonna quote unquote make throughout the month. And a lot of people like myself, you're pushing my members, you're pushing for subs, because you know that once you hit a certain number, that kind of guarantees that you are going to be making a certain amount month in, month out, as long as you keep up the content that you kind of promise your fans and viewers to make. But there are a lot of people out there, especially some of the bigger streamers, who are quite greedy with it, and they make it seem like the subs are really important. But a lot of these people who stream on places like Twitch, they also run ads on their live stream, which is something I've only found out recently. I didn't know this is a thing, but recently I've only just kind of clocked onto why people are so, you know, hell-bent on doing Twitch stuff, because you can run ads. So when you do your live stream, similar to how we have AdSense here on YouTube, you can run ads over there on your live stream. So off of the back of getting donations and tips and shit and bits, which are things that you can convert from Twitch over there to money, and then on top of that, memberships, you're also getting money from whatever ads you run on your particular live stream. And obviously some live streamers like a Lacey from FaZe Clan and shit, they're way more aggressive with how many ads they have in a live stream, and some people are a bit more conservative. Anyway, long story being less long, Moist Critical, aka Charlie, decided to basically turn off any option that allows his fans to send him money or to give him money in terms of subs, and just rely solely on AdSense, which is something that I thought most people would want to get to. Like, I remember when I was first starting out, I said on my Tazs, this particular channel anyway, and even on a random show, I'm never gonna have like ads in terms of like, oh, I don't know, this fucking coffee company, this mental health shit. I'm never gonna do that, just because I thought, why would I want to shill shitty things I don't really use, when if I get to a certain level, the AdSense itself should essentially be enough. You don't need to do all that sort of stuff. And people that do that are only doing it because they just want more and more, you know, and it's kind of damaging the quality of the show, because you have to stop and then do these hard insert ads. I know most people don't care, Most people can just skip ahead and don't really matter, and they're kind of grown up and like, you know what, you're making content. If someone wants to make an ad or put an ad on your work, or you're going to insert an ad there, I'm not going to be too bothered, I'm just going to skip forward. But I still think it kind of messes up the flow of the show, I'm not going to lie. So I would much rather, if it was up to me, I would much rather just rely solely on AdSense and Patreon. I think those two are fair enough. Like making content specifically for your viewers to, you know, to kind of enjoy outside of the YouTube or whatever ecosystem, and doing that behind a paywall on Patreon is more than fine. But doing it, having all these other options open for you are just it's a little bit too much. It's unnecessary, especially when you imagine a lot of these live streamers make money on their live streams via the ads that they play on there. Most of my live streams don't make money, unfortunately, because I'm playing music and stuff and copyright clips and shit. But I don't necessarily care, because I want the quality of the show to be good. So I'm more than happy to run a clip, run a song, as long as it kind of ties into what I'm talking about. Anyway, long story less long, Moist Critical reveals that he's made $34 million on YouTube throughout his career. So from the inception of his channel, which I think was like 2007, something like that, all the way until now, or 2017 maybe it was, he has made 34 million off of YouTube throughout his career, and he's turned off donations that he didn't feel right taking money from 9-to-5 workers. Honestly, Moist Critical Charlie is an absolute legend of a guy. I recommend everybody go and subscribe to his channel, watch his clips. He's one of the best ones out there. I know people like to say he fence sits and stuff, but I enjoy him and his monotone hot takes and shit. Check out Moist Critical. But I think this is a very refreshing outlook and perspective when it comes to content creation, and I hope other people will follow suit. I doubt it, because there's too much money on the table, but I hope other people would, because I think ultimately us fans, us viewers will end up getting a far better product if that was the case. Us fans and viewers end up getting a far better product if that is the case. Big up Moist Critical.
Junior routine to a normal person who is actually working their ass off every single day in a 9-to-5 environment, grinding in the hopes of chasing the American dream, and then they'll come home, maybe turn on my stream and donate a couple of dollars to me. And it just doesn't sit right with me taking that kind of money, given what I've made from all of this. And I really should have just stopped this a long time ago, especially considering this is just the Twitch side of things. I told you I'm going to show you my YouTube earnings, so be ready, because here it is. Huge fucking number.
So I guess what's that from? That's from 2007. Okay, cool. So he started his channel in 2007, I guess technically, but content started to really sprout on there late 2016 or mid 2016 is when content started to really splutter. You see his little spikes are when he started to upload videos. So he turned on his AdSense, I'm assuming around 2016 too. So from 2016 to 2025, he's made 35 million. And this is somebody who doesn't upload that much, right? I know he's popular, he's got a lot of views and stuff, but think about it, this is not a guy that is like uploading every single day 17 different clips, like, you know what I mean? Most of his stuff isn't highly edited, it's not super well polished or well produced. So just imagine what those other bigger channels are making, case in point people like a Rogan and shit. And what you get to see is that people just being greedy, really, when it comes to the money side of things. Just really being greedy. There's no real need, really, in my personal opinion, to have all these different revenue streams, plus on top of it hard-baked ads. Like, I honestly, like, these days, maybe it's just because, you know, I pay for so many subscription services, but these days I find myself literally screaming into the void when I'm listening to something and a fucking ad just pops in. It really fucking pisses me off to no end, especially if you support, like, there's plenty of people on Patreon that I support in terms of creators and stuff. I pay for YouTube Premium. You just think, oh my god, when am I gonna ever get rid of ads? And you never will. There's hard-baked ads, there's ads on the platform that you're watching, everybody's fucking getting something, and on top of that, whatever promotion and flipping person that they're, especially when it comes to the tech people, the tech side of things, they always love a fucking ad insert there for no apparent reason for a service that most of us will never fucking use. So big up fucking Moist Critical.
An unfathomable amount of money. From starting this channel in 2007 all the way until today, I have made $35.8 million. I never even imagined that amount of money was possible to earn without just being born rich. I have said from day one, I got incredibly lucky. I will never be able to put into words just how lucky I got with all of this shit here. I'm not special. I got lucky. I have always said that, and I still believe that to this day. Now, something I saw a lot of people asking after the video I made about turning off all the donation stuff is how much money I'm leaving on the table. And while it's kind of hard to show it on Twitch considering both subs and bits are technically...
That's a pretty good indication, again, of what I'm saying about people just being greedy. Like, for me, personally, this is the place that I would like to be at. Get to a point where I just turn off memberships completely. If somebody wants to send super chats or something to get their question read out, cool. But that's it. That's the only thing that's going to be available open. Super chats and whatever, and obviously your AdSense. But the idea of getting any memberships or donations is just not necessary if you're pulling in this amount from just watch ads. If you can't see the video, Moist Critical put up a screenshot of how his breakdown of where his money comes from on his YouTube channel, and on one, the main part is watch page ads, which are the ads that YouTube run on your videos, and from that he made 34.7 million. And then from memberships, which is what I have on my channel and Random Show, where you kind of, you pay like 90, I think it's 99 cents and 4.99, 2 tiers, and you get member only content, all that malarkey. He makes 560,000 over 500,000 from memberships alone, and then he also made over 500,000 from super chats and gifts from that period as well. So it's a crazy amount. And then the one at the bottom is shorts, feeds, ads, right, which is something that's only started recently as well, and he's made 2,571 since his lifetime. So you can clearly see that, yes, 500,000 is a lot of money, but if you're making 35 mil of fucking paid ads, or let's say $1 million a year, you don't need to turn on your fucking memberships. Just leave those off. You know what I mean? How much money is enough? You know what I mean?
Technically still on, even though I discourage both and have bits at a point where I...
And he's really being humble too. Yes, he's lucky, but he's also very hardworking, I think, and obviously one of the better, quote-unquote, more talented creators out there. And it's also been, 7+ years, nearly 8 years of grinding. You know what I mean? This isn't like an overnight success thing, but still, big up fucking Moist Critical.
Don't think it's even possible to use them. I still can't get like a hard number on what's like gone now or anything like that, but on YouTube I can show you directly. So with memberships and supers / gifts, I made over $1 million. Keep in mind, I've only had those things enabled for about a year.
Wow.
So it was $1 million in a year.
That's incredible, isn't it? That's fucking incredible. Big up fucking Moist Critical. And you know what's really funny too? Like, weirdly enough, I think if more content creators did this and maybe focus all their efforts into just making good content and put away all the other revenue streams that they don't necessarily get anything from, but they're just doing it for the sake of just collecting all the fucking coins and shekels, I think we'd actually get better content. It'd actually be a far more interesting space to kind of exist in, to kind of take part in, to consume, because the kind of the effort would go back into making the content. I feel nowadays, even myself on my kind of lowly level, you're spending more time trying to figure out ways to get to a certain level monetarily, as opposed to just focusing on the content. And the content's king, and all that stuff kind of comes after the fact. But because everyone's doing all of these things at the same time, whether they're lower level, mid level, or higher level, you sometimes also feel like you have to partake when you don't really. You don't really have to do this at all. You should just be focusing solely on the content. And for someone like myself, I think it's probably even more beneficial, because I'm at the beginning of my kind of journey, to really focus on what's more important. So I think going forward, actually, what I'm probably going to do going forward is I'm probably going to turn off memberships on this channel. I think it might be the good thing to do, and just focus it all on Random Show, and obviously do the Patreon as well. And then kind of, if I need any kind of extra content, bonus content in terms of Tazs, it'll chuck it on the Patreon, just to make it nice and simple. I feel like there's too many streams, you know what I mean? People having to get memberships on this channel, memberships on the Random Show, memberships on the fucking, and then a sub on the fucking Patreon. There's too much going on. Then obviously watch the kick. It's like gaga. Let's kind of relax it, tranquilo. Let's focus it all on this when you're focusing. But I would love to see other creators do the same thing. They're not going to do this, right? They're really not going to do this because they want to make as much money as possible, and you can't really, but you can't really get out of the blue for saying that. But I would love it. I would fucking love it if more creators did this, because this is just proof that AdSense is enough. I've always known this from the beginning. I've always known that AdSense was enough to cover most people, especially if you've made a couple decent videos on YouTube and you've kind of done well in terms of having one viral video, blow up and stuff. You know how it goes. You know that one video one video can really give you an idea of how much you can make on YouTube. And you don't really, you know what I mean, once you figure out that formula, you can kind of just copy and paste and kind of go on from there. But you don't really need to have all these other revenue options open. As long as you make good content that excites and delights your fans, and you're somewhat consistent, AdSense is enough. AdSense is more than enough. All the other stuff is just extra. It's just greedy for the sake of being greedy, especially some of the ads for, like, you know, nicotine companies and gambling stuff and all this. It's just a nonsense. I fucking hate that shit. You're already paying an arm and a leg for the streaming platforms, paying subscription for the month. I think you don't need to be shelling out more money for people who probably don't need to be taking out those ads, and are just doing them just to kind of keep collecting the money, and it's not necessarily feeding the content. It'd be one thing if you're, you know, picking up these shekels from these companies to kind of feed it back into your work, and then to allow you to do more interesting, cool projects and whatever else it may be. But it's not necessarily the case. What usually happens is that people just collect the money, keep it moving, the content never really changes, and it's just the same shit. But you get worse products. You get a show that you have to kind of stand up and skip and fast forward every fucking, you know, 15 or more or less minutes to get past an ad. It's super annoying. I flipping hate it, and I don't want to do it. So I'm definitely going to be following Moist Critical's lead going forward. You know, my aim on both of these channels is to make sure that they get to a place where the AdSense is enough to kind of look after everything else, and then everything else on top of it will be a bonus, but it's not something I'm going to be pushing for in any way, shape or form. But big up Moist Critical for being open and sharing that. He really didn't have to, but he's an absolute legend. And unironically, this will make more people want to view his stuff. This will make more people even do the mad thing, the DSP thing, right? And turn off their fucking ad block and fucking watch the video. I mean, this will make people do some mad shit because of what he's doing and how vulnerable he's being, how open he's being about this sort of shit. It's fucking cool to see, man. Big up Moist Critical. Big up Blood Clot Moist Critical. Talking about bigging up, let's talk about Tame Impala. So I've been listening to this new Tame Impala record because there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of chitter chatter on the social media, on specifically vis-a-vis Resident Advisor Instagram page, where they published an article or a post basically talking about the album, reviewing it, which has now weirdly enough replaced their comment section. I was one of the people that was very against and very upset and saddened when Resident Advisor turned off their comments on their site, mostly because DJs were getting in their feelings. It's kind of dumb thinking about it now, because platforms like Instagram and Twitter and whatnot are way harsher than any fucking RA comment section was. But anyway, I digress. Now it seems like the Instagram comment section has replaced the comment section on the RA website. That was once a popping, vibrant place where I discovered a lot of great artists, a lot of great writers and shit, and subgenres and all this malarkey and clubs around the world. And honestly, I fucking loved it. I always said one of the best things about the RA comments was that at the end of the year, they had the RA DJ poll, which was one of the greatest things, by the way. Back in the day, you could actually vote for the DJ that you thought was the best DJ throughout that year. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had a really cool feature with something that I would probably try and copy and build into my website or something, where you could only vote for a DJ that you attended or bookmark the event or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. If you click going or something to an event, you could click a DJ that you liked throughout the year that you thought was good, and it would really make for a really interesting list, like, you know, a really interesting list across the board. And obviously, you know, a big DJ's won it across the years a number of times, like Seth Troxler, Dixon and stuff, people that I'm a big fan of. But what I really liked about that list was that the comment section under it. So obviously RA would publish the list of like, hey, here's the top DJs, but the comment section was the best because there'll be people from all around the world recommending to you like local heroes, people who they saw on the road that were fucking sick, who probably didn't get listed. It was a really cool place to kind of discover a lot of new acts and shit, and it's really a shame that we don't have anymore. Anyway, the comment section on Instagram has kind of replaced it, and there's been a lot of conversation because RA gave Tame Impala's new album Deadbeat a bad review. I've listened to the album in full, back and front, back and forward, front to the middle to the back a few times now, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't see what all the fuffer is about. I really enjoyed it. Is it as good as his previous albums? Obviously not. It doesn't hold a candle to any of his earlier work, but I feel like he came out of the gate so strong with such a great fucking discography. It's pretty difficult to hit those heady heights. Now, my initial reaction from this new album is this. My initial reaction is that I kind of had the feeling incorrectly, or maybe I kind of read or whatever else online, that this was meant to be a more of a dance album, because there was a whole conversation and news around Kevin from Tame Impala doing a lot of DJ sets throughout the year. And I don't know if the DJ sets were in part to promote the album, or if that was him doing more shows and being a DJ, in terms of instead of doing the live band, so live acting with doing Tame Impala with his three other people that he does it with, he was doing more DJ sets. So I assumed this was going to be more of a houseier vibe. So it was really confusing when the singles dropped, because I think the singles were like Dracula, Loser, and End of Summer. I think those are the tracks, right? And the only housey kind of dance music one that kind of really grabbed people's attention was Dracula. That's a bop, right? End of Summer, I didn't really like it too much, and Loser wasn't really for me. So I was a little bit confused when it comes to that kind of vibe. But when Dracula obviously hit, I loved it. But listening to the album Fall, what I got from it, my initial reactions was that I felt like Tame Impala made better quote unquote dance music before he knew he was making dance music, if that makes sense. You know, you listen to stuff like Currents, like albums like Currents, even Lonerism really, but Currents probably more so. There's so many like dance records on there that are probably not, he probably never even thought he was making that. He just making some sick stuff in the fucking studio. So I feel like now that he's probably aware that he has that audience, or that he has that ear, and he's trying to make it, it doesn't necessarily sound the same, if that makes any sense. Or maybe just ran out of juice, I don't really know. But what I did like about the album is that it did kind of go up and down. The intro I really liked, My Old Ways, the kind of a cappella style, and then the kick, and then obviously the beat kicks in halfway through. I thought that was an amazing way to go. No Reply, not for me. Dracula, I loved. Loser, not for me. Oblivion, I loved. Not My World, I didn't like. Piece of Heaven, I loved. Obsolete, I didn't like. Ephemeral Connection, I liked. See You on Monday, I liked. Afterthought was one of my favorite tracks, and End of Summer I didn't like. So I think I like over half of the album, and even the tracks that I didn't like, in sequence, I think they worked really well together. I wasn't necessarily going and skipping anything, and it clocks in just under 56 minutes. For me, that's a big stickler, because I feel like nowadays people, you know, fill their albums with fluff, too many tracks on there, so it's kind of bloated, or the runtime is way too long. So I really enjoyed it for how short and concise it was, to the point. I enjoyed some of the more puncher productions and stuff like Afterthought, which felt like it was a track that could probably fit anywhere alongside Slow Rush, Currents, Lonerism. That could easily fit alongside and all that sort of stuff. But again, I feel like Tame Impala's kind of competing with himself, you know? He's made so many great fucking albums that he could probably retire today and still tour a fucking Currents, you know? Legit. And I think he's got like 2 albums and I know one of them is a kind of remix album, but he could legitimately quit today and he could tour off of Currents until the day that he dies, because the album is such a fucking banger, not including the Lonerism and everything else in between. So I just think someone like him, who kind of defined the sound, who kind of was a bit of a flag bearer in terms of that particular brand of like indie dance type of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I think it's difficult to kind of come and surpass your previous work when you're the one that kind of laid the blueprint, you know? So it's kind of a bit unfair when people are very critical of the work that he's done, because, you know, legitimately he's only competing against himself, like, because the stuff that he did, just fucking too fucking good. Would I have preferred way more of a punchier vibe? Would I have preferred My Old Ways going on? Yes, for sure. Did it kind of weirdly fall off when Loser came on? I was like, oh, I hate that track, and then the blitz. So, do you know what I mean? There's a little bit too much, there's a little bit too many like weird kind of twists and turns throughout the album. But overall, I fucking loved it. And Afterthought, I've been playing that on loop since the album dropped. I really fucking love it. And of course, Dracula is a fucking beat. I really cannot wait to hear what they're going to be doing in terms of remix albums. Hopefully there is one. There's probably going to be one, I would assume. That might be the deluxe, hopefully. I'm curious to see what people do with some of the singles, which one they take to try and remix and flip. I'm assuming they'll probably try and take the fucking obvious ones or the singles. But I'll be curious to see if somebody picks something kind of left field to kind of go and try and edit or remix. But overall, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was as bad as people say it was. I think nowadays there's a tendency to kind of go a little bit overboard when it comes to criticism of albums, because we all kind of hype up things a bit too much, right? Similar, I think Tame Impala's album was very highly anticipated because he's been, he's not been around for ages. When did Slow Rush drop? Slow Rush was the last album, right? Slow Rush dropped when? 2022, so it's been 3 years or so, right, since he's not been around. Obviously some of it's to do with COVID, I'd assume, as well, but still, I fucking really enjoyed it. Deadbeat is fucking great, marks the next chapter in his life going forward, obviously being a dad and shit. I really did fucking love it, and I can't wait to see what this sounds like live, and I can't wait to hear what some of the remixes sound like going forward. But I'm curious to hear and to see what fucking RA thought, because RA is getting destroyed in the comment section regarding this fucking album, which I think is being unfairly critiqued and panned. I really enjoyed it for what it's worth. Let's see. First impression of Tame Impala's new club record is a miss. Inspired by Australians' bush duff culture, Kevin Parker's first album in 5 years transposes his synth-heavy psych formula onto dance music with varying results. As a convenience of rave culture qualities to a wider audience, the sense of missed opportunity is hard to shake. There's no missed opportunity. What do you mean missed opportunity? I don't think there's a missed opportunity here. I think he did exactly what he was meant to do on this particular album. I think I would have preferred, legit, on my personal opinion, I would have personally preferred to have had way more Draculas and Afterthoughts in this album than what we got, right? Personally, I would have way more preferred to have heard way more Afterthoughts, way more My Old Ways, way more Draculas on this album than what we got. We didn't get as many as I wanted, but I don't think he didn't not do what he wanted to do. I think he did exactly what he wanted to do. If anything, maybe fans like myself had our expectations in the wrong place, because he's not been around for a while, and we assumed the album was going to be one way, and it wasn't, the way that we thought it was going to be. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think he did anything different than what he was going to do personally with this particular project, but I could be wrong. Let's go to the next slide. It says Deadbeat is short of Parker's best and unlikely to convince club heads that he understands electronic culture. A surprising dip for one of the electronics pop's best. What? How is it unlikely to how who does he need to convince that he gets dance music? I don't understand how he doesn't need to convince anybody. He's killed it. Who does he need to convince? He's got a track record already with his previous albums, especially current, like I keep mentioning. There's so many great tracks on there that kind of give you an idea that he's really, attuned when it comes to dance music. Like I said, I feel like if any criticism I could kind of levy towards this album, I feel like he tried maybe too hard to make dance records or club records, whereas beforehand he was making them not by chance, not by happenstance, but he just kind of, I won't say stumbled across them, but he was kind of making them from a place where he's just making songs, in terms of like, because I feel like nowadays, you saw a little bit with FK Twigs, right? When these artists decide, I'm going to make a club record, it never really hits, when they're really like concentrated and focused on trying to make a club record. I think when you're not too focused on trying to make a club record, you make a club record that resonates and bangs. But when you're too focused on it, when you're trying too hard to appease and to maybe placate and to maybe pander to a certain audience, it can sometimes fall a bit short. I don't think he's pandering personally, but I think he did especially exactly what he said he was going to do. Let me read a bit of the blurb here. The blurb on here says the following: Tame Impala hits the rave and the results are unconvincing. In the 2010s, Kevin Parker pulled clear from the chasing pack as a near universal favorite. Anticipation for his was high for what a clubber side of Parker might sound on Deadbeat. What we hasn't lived up to expectation. The beats are wan, the lyrics are doing, and the mix down curiously dry. Few of the dance cuts merit their length, exposing the holes in the vibe forward songcraft with tight prop production can mask. There's a bright spots in the melodic wistful album. There always will be Kevin Parker's pedigree, but as an exercise in seeing whether Tame Impala can make a convincing play in club scene space, it's questionable whether these songs would get a second glance without Parker's name attached. Nah, they would. Come on, don't be stupid, man. Afterthought and the fucking intro track, what's it called? My Old Ways. Come on, man. Dracula as well. Like, who's making that? That's unfair to say if his name wasn't attached to this, no one would be listening to it. But who else could make Mild Ways, Dracula, Afterthought, and even I don't know, let me pick another one here. Piece of Heaven. Who can make that really? Come on. The only person that can make that is Kevin Parker, aka Tame Impala. I think he did a stupendous job. I think he did a splendid job. I think this hate is very unwarranted, and maybe it's kind of rooted in something else. I don't know, maybe Tame Impala did something else politically, societally. You know, maybe he's in the cancelled category of artists nowadays. Maybe he didn't kind of sign his name to a certain list and now people have it out for him. But I think this criticism is really unwarranted, personally, for me. Very, very, very unwarranted, especially when he only is competing with himself. You know, you're kind of criticizing and chastising him as if he's got equals within his field. He's kind of in his own lane and he's the flag bearer for a reason, you know. Let's read some of the comments here. Big up my guy Heath Valencia. What do you say? It's great record reminder of early 2010s. I wouldn't say about to, you know what, actually he's telling the truth there. You know what vibe I got from this album? MGMT. You know that album, what's that album that's got Little Dark Age on it? Little Dark Age, or whatever the track that comes after it. I think this album sounds a lot like that. It sounds like an extension. If anything, it sounds more MGMT than Tame Impala. You know, and MGMT, I think I put it in the same category as that LCD sound system, right? It's kind of in that sort of world, but it sounds a lot like MGMT. But a lot of MGMT records, you play it now, like even, you know, again, like that, wherever that record fucking My Little Dark Age is on, that's still gonna fucking turn up a club. Let's be real. This person, Ultra Chrissy, says, I love how the press that's supposedly all about club culture, aka community love and all that, starts an article with a tone like this. Exactly, good point. Electronic music doesn't have one way to be. It's literally built on freedom and experimentation. Every genre, every tempo, every texture fits under that umbrella. So you think whoever wrote this would know that, right? That's the thing as well. Like, if the beats are shit, like we all know what shit beats are, we've all got an ear, we've all discerning listeners, we're all big fans and fangirls and day-dems and everything else in between. We know what sounds fucking terrible. So if the stuff sounds terrible, just say it sounds terrible. But to say it's not falling short of this when he's competing with him, it's Tame Impala v Tame Impala, it's fucking crazy. It's Kevin v Kevin, and you're acting as if like he's got an equal. That's why it's so anticipated. That's why we're all on the edge of our seats. Did it maybe fall short of our lofty expectation? Yes, but I think everything across the board has. Across the arts, everything has kind of not really kind of lived up to its kind of hype. Not really. Even Kendrick Lamar's fucking album, right? For some of you K-bots out there, even Kendrick Lamar's album GNX hasn't really, I mean, most people aren't probably replaying it till now. I'm sure some of that has to have good replay value. Drake hasn't really been popping up as much as he has. The Playboy Carti album kind of felt like it came and went. Not, you know, fucking what's his face, Tyler Creator dropped 2 albums in the calendar year, and that hasn't necessarily worked out. So everything's not really been hitting the way it probably should. Movies haven't really been hitting the way they have. TV series, for you know, series endings and shit, I don't know. So I think it's a bit harsh to kind of levy that always at Tame Impala, but I could be wrong. It continues. Big up Ultra Chrissy. This album isn't trying to fit into the rave box, so why are we forcing some expert analysis on it for not being what it never set out to be? Exactly. But it also is not, to be fair, I take it back slightly, because I did think it was going to be more dancey. I don't know why I thought in my head, but I thought it would have a little bit more punch, you know. Like when I heard Dracula, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, here we go. Now he's saying something, right? Loser, when I heard that as a single, I was like, or End of Summer, I was like, what the fuck is this, you know? But once I heard Dracula, I was like, okay, cool, here we go. But it wasn't enough of that, but still, solid enough album, in my personal opinion. But also, it's not a rave enough because it's not 150 BPM loop and a fader going in and out for 9 minutes straight. I love music journalism. Always makes me wonder if we even need it. The music is supposed to be about feeling and something, not dissecting it to the death. No, to be fair, I like music journalism. It gives you something to kind of bounce off of, and it also informs or kind of strengthens whatever point of view you have. That's why I'm also really open to talking to people from, you know, who have different points of view, different political beliefs than I do, because it kind of strengthens, I think, your argument. because you didn't have to kind of, you know, go back to the drawing board and kind of, you know, really hunker down on why you believe it. And me personally, I've always been a big advocate of listening and seeing and feeling and touching things from my own personal viewpoint to see what I think of it. I'm going to obviously take in what you have to say because you're also a person, but I'm always going to listen for myself. That's why I was very eager and excited to listen to a new Taylor Swift album, because I'm not really a Taylor Swift fan, but everyone was panning the album. Then I played it for myself. I was like, hold on, I don't even listen to this girl's music, and I thought it was pretty decent. I thought all the criticism was a little bit unwarranted. So I love that kind of thing happening, but that only would have happened because I've heard other people say they didn't like it, and I went to hear it for myself. But if I just went by what they said, I would have never listened to it, and I would have kind of, you know, denied myself the pleasure of listening to some music that I'm not really that into, that's going to open my horizon. So I think that's really fucking important. But anyway, what do I know? Another person says here, RA sounded like Resident Boomer. I love that. Another person says, people in the comments are wild, guys. It's okay for an album to be mid. It's also okay for it to be critiqued. It's okay for you to like it while others don't. It's okay. You'll be okay. Again, I think all these big words like mid, trash, it's like, can we reserve them for like things that are trash and mid, please? Can we reserve the words mid and trash for things that are mid and trash, and not just label something that we don't like, quote unquote, as mid and trash? We have to use our words. We've got enough emojis and icons and fucking letters on our typepads for us to actually put together and articulate what we actually feel about music, what we think about it, as opposed to just saying mid or trash. Come on, man. Especially for a talent like Tame Impala, he deserves more. He deserves way more, you know, way more consideration, way more reflection. Take a beat, take a breath. What do you really think of it? Is it not as good as Lonerism? Is it not good as fucking Current? Okay, yes, we get it. But Jesus Christ, trash and mid, you know? So then, if Tame Impala's trash and mid, what's fucking Peggy Goo? I don't think it was made to be a club album, someone says here. He has mentioned it was inspired by club culture in Australia, but definitely this is not an attempt to get into the club culture. It flirts with it, but it's not its own twist, and I think that's the beauty of it. I want people to stop saying that term, by the way. Going forward, I want more artists to stop saying their album is influenced by club culture when they mean they just, I don't know, they watched a fucking documentary or I don't know, whatever, some fucking movie, right? And suddenly, you know, they're fucking influenced by it, and that's what influenced what they made because they were fucking on speed doing it. Enough of that. Because when you start putting out those labels, people immediately think we're going to hear dance music, and it's not what we hear. Do you know what I mean? We're thinking we're going to be hearing a fucking fabric mix of an album. People just need to allow it, because when people say club music, you think of club music, but I guess what they mean, I guess, is theme wise, right? The theme of it, the tone of it, the feel of it. That's what they probably mean. But just let's do without it, please, going forward. Let's everybody just describe their music differently. Let's maybe describe it as like, I don't know, this music is influenced by open spaces with other people, shared spaces with other people, you know, or something. The article's a miss, great album. I like it. Sue me, someone says here. Someone else says whatever, I loved it. Another person says we love it. Another person here says, I can promise you now, many DJs are going to be remixing the album into some massive hits. Exactly. I will be playing it. If I was playing in pubs still now, I'd be playing it in pubs. Legit. If I was playing my fucking £150 for 4-hour sets, or for fucking unlimited drink tokens, club sets, I'd be playing a lot of this in the clubs too. So let's be real. I can promise you now, many DJs are going to be remixing this album into some massive hits. Give it a couple months and this take will be absolutely nullified by the heaters that will be blessing us in the club. Now again, it doesn't need to be nullified. No one needs to nullify anybody's opinion. I just think they went a bit too hard. They went a bit too extra. They went a bit too OTT. But just because they didn't like it doesn't mean because now we're going to find hits, that just kind of invalidates their opinion. No, their opinion is still valid. I think they just put a little bit too much Salt Bay on it. You know, they put a little bit too much Salt Bay on it. To essentially call Kevin Parker trash and mid is extremely overboard. Another person says, just because an artist chooses not to do hard techno or hyper bachata doesn't mean it's mid. But anyways, what can I tell to an editorial team who just panders to the current thing? Fair play. Another one says here, Every step further from the vibe of the first two albums has been a dip for me. Love that these are just not a fan of his dancey side. But again, that's really the plight of being an artist, isn't it? You come into the game and people meet you at a certain point, right? People met Tame Impala at certain points of his trajectory. Lonerisms, whatever else. What was the album before Lonerisms? You meet him at certain stages of his fucking career, right? You might have met him at fucking Inner Speaker, right? And then, you know, some people meet him at Currents, and then you want a repeat of Currents every other year, but he might be onto some other things. Currents might have been made 4 years before the day that it fucking released, so you have no idea. So it must be really excruciating to be an artist, because you're wanting to evolve your sound, fine tune your sound, explore different things, experiment, but your fans meet you at a certain point and they kind of, you know, they put you in a fucking cryo chamber and they want you to just rinse and repeat those hits, when really it's like, it's not really the point of being an artist, isn't it? You gotta kind of try new things. Another one says, someone says here, no problem with negative reviews of art, but the tone is immensely patronizing and disrespectful. That's what I'm saying. Tame Impala deserves more respect, but I wonder if this has to do with some political, social thing going on. Tame Impala must have said or did something that people at RE maybe didn't agree with. Maybe he's not a part of the boycott Berghain thing. I don't know. There's something going. Maybe he didn't sign the fucking Palestine thing. Something's going on there, because it sounds a little bit too personal. Another person says here, didn't love it either, but also didn't hate it. RA, this seems like a mean-spirited attempt to harm the reputation of a creative person who's made a good career for himself. Exactly. Kind of surprised y'all would be jerks. The dude seems like a super awkward studio rat who has self-confidence issues. Hopefully they can take some harsh criticism, because you guys are being mean. That's the thing. I've wondered, like, I felt like, was it during the pandemic? Because he went on a tour, didn't he? There's something I'm missing. Maybe someone could tell me. When I make this in a clip, someone tell me in the comments. I did see a kind of a hate train forming around Tame Impala around the pandemic, towards the end of it. There was a sort of hate train going on. I don't know why that was. Maybe it's because of his audience, his fans. Maybe, you know, because he got really popular over the last few years. He's become huge. So maybe people don't like his fans. I don't really know. But there was a bit of a hate train going on around him. But he's not really your typical Australian guy in that respect. I don't know. He doesn't come across overly brash and broy and chatty, whatever. He seems kind of soft-spoken and chill and easygoing. I just listened to his interview on How Long Gone, Big Up How Long Gone podcast, and he came across really well on there. But I do remember there was something in the air regarding Kevin Parker and people not really liking his vibe. And I wonder if this is what's kind of influenced some of this discourse, some of this tone, some of the meanness that people are noticing in this RA review, with people maybe not liking him, maybe not liking his fans, maybe just not liking the fact that he's really popular. I don't really know, but I really like it. Like I don't know, I can just imagine what it might be like being in a fucking arena, right? Imagine being in a fucking arena somewhere and hearing fucking Eventually, you know, hearing something like Nangs, I don't know, hearing something like fucking Reality in Motion and singing along to that shit. Fuck, man. The first couple of times I listened to Tame Impala in my entire life, legit, Lonerism and Inner Speaker, like legit tear jerkers. And you know me, I'm not an emotional type of guy, but that shit got me in my feels, bro. Like, that guy is a fucking wizard. He is a fucking wizard, and I will not have anything bad said about him in my presence. Let's see, anything more comments here. I think it's a brilliant album. It's definitely not a club record, but it's a brilliant album. Another says here, this album is getting too much hate online. It's good. What the fuck? Another one here says it's a cinephile. I watch it. He's a cinephile. I watch Family Guy is a real lyric on this album. Like, what do you mean? He's also made Currents. Genuinely enjoying the first full listen. Earlier thinking to myself, I can't wait to read a cynical RA takedown. Another person says, is the club record of in the room with us? Eyes emoji. Another person says it's actually one of his best works, and to be fair, it has more high end qualities than most electronic music today. I don't think it's his best work. His best work is still Currents. His best work is still Currents. Front to back, his best work is still Currents, but it is good. Well, that was just your opinion, man. It's pretty bad. Sorry, Kevin. Another person says this review is essentially my taste is superior to you normies, wrapped in performativity performatively advanced wording. Of course, I know rage bait is everywhere these days. Another person says, honestly, would have been really funny to connect this with a kind of music post. Rude, somebody says here, review my album over 650 track release from Future Garage or shut up. Another person says, thank you for writing this. This had to be said. It's supermarket electronic music, bro. If they play this in a Lidl, I'd be fucking shocking out. If they play this in a fucking Lidl, I'm fucking shocking out. If they play this in my local Sainsbury's, I'm fucking doing the fucking worm. You know what I mean? If they play this in my fucking local Tesco Express, I'm gliding. You know what I mean? Fucking, what's that movie? Is it Breakers or whatever that old school movie? I'm doing that glide where he does it with a broom. Right? I'm doing that fucking shit if they play this in Tesco Express. Another person here says, club album, was it even supposed to be that? Regardless, I don't know if it's a shocking expecting a 10 out of 10 debut club record from someone who makes pop rock. Exactly. Thank you. And if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't even go to clubs anyway. Like, all this fucking criticism, he doesn't even go to clubs. Like, he's just a studio rat. Someone said there, right? He's a self-confessed studio rat, and you're expecting him to make fucking, I don't know, nowadays Pano Bar, Robert Johnson-esque kind of club record music. Like, come on, man, relax, man. Do yourself a favor. Do yourself a fucking favor. But again, what do I know? Absolutely nothing. What do I know? Absolutely nada. Talking about knowing nada. Talking about knowing nada. Talking about knowing nada. Talking about knowing nada. Let's talk a little bit about this. Big up Drake. Big up Blood Clot Drake. Now, I've said before that one of the things that I detest, one of the things that I hate about my kind of field of dance music and stuff is how up their own arse, is how snobby most DJs can be in my kind of area of interest, right? When it comes to dance music, techno, house, or you know, there's DJs out here who will legitimately leave you unseen. They won't even open your messages. They won't even reply. They won't even give you the dignity of double tapping your comment that you leave on their post and shit. Just assholes, right? They won't even reply to your tune ID request or whatever it may be, let alone your fucking guest list request stuff, right? So it's always really funny to me whenever you see these posts like this, which feature super famous across the board people who have way more time for their fans than your standard techno DJ, than your standard Berghain DJ, your standard Fold DJ, the standard Fabric DJ that will pay you dust if you say something to them in the comments, if you ask them for an ID on the jacket they're wearing, if you just say hi, if you try and befriend them, if you try and get guest lists, they will leave you unseen. They won't even open your message, some of these motherfuckers. But here you have Drake. My God, one of the biggest artists in the world, replying to some random kid who asked him for a fucking, what is it, a senior quote? I'm guessing for his college thing, right? He asked him for a senior quote, and Drake read the following. Big up this fan and big up Drake for being an absolute legend and showing up some of these techno DJs who act like they're too cool for school, they're too up their own arse, they don't have the ability to come down to this lowly level where the fans are and kind of reach back and kind of, you know, just at least give people the brief bit of acknowledgement for the love and support they give them. But hey, what do I know? This is the screenshot, right? As you can see there, Champagne Pappy, that's his actual Instagram. Random kid hits up Drake and says the following: hook me up with a senior quote, please. And Drake replies, did there, been that, thanks for all the knowledge. Seth move like liquid baby, but Seth keep it solid. Oh, no, let me do that again. This is really good. Did there, been that, thanks for all the knowledge. Seth moved like liquid baby, but Seth kept it solid. 5 deep in the whip, plotting on them dollars. Me, I'm sitting backseat, stone in the middle like an olive. Praying all the broskies can dodge life problems. Problem is, more kids trying to go viral than go to college. Drake just gave this kid a random fire senior quote. Absolutely incredible. No way you answered, bro. He said much love. Drake liked the comment. Drake double tapped and gave him a fire heart emoji. and he says might be too long, but you'll go it if they let you bar up. And he said, nah, I'm convincing them to now, bro. What a legend. What a legend fucking Drake is for replying to a random kid and giving him this senior quote. Again, more example as to why I don't take any fucking, I won't say disrespect, but why I don't really take any excuses when it comes to some of these dance music, techno, house, whatever scene DJs who seem to be very much so up there on us. I've shared some of my issues, some of my not so great interactions with some people on this particular pod. You know who I'm talking about and shit. But it goes across the board, across the fucking chasm of DJs and people out there that just seem to have an inability to just kind of be nice, be cordial, and just say hi. You know, I get it's different if you're like a female DJ and shit. You can't really do this because you might give a guy, you might be worried, you might give a guy the wrong impression, and he might maybe get the wrong impression and think that you're interested. I don't know. You know, with women it's a bit different and a bit weird, but just in general, man, the lack of general courtesy is really concerning with some of these people, especially when you think about the likes of what people like Rihanna do, right? You see Rihanna out and about and she makes an effort to kind of stop and take pictures with her fans. People like Hailey Bieber, I saw a clip recently of Kim Kardashian going to her 45th birthday party wearing like this amazing, I think Alexander McQueen vintage dress on, and just quickly stopped to take a picture with a fan. Like, come on, man, honestly, you couldn't. I remember that time I went to go see what's his fucking face, who did I go see? Oh, I forgot who it was. Someone at Fabric, and the way they were moving after their set, like, man was moving like he was MJ. He had one of the people at the club like making sure no one spoke to him. Was Jeff Mills? I said Jeff Mills. Jeff Mills, when he finished that Fabric, like, you couldn't get close to him after he finished his set. He ran away, head down, didn't even give people a glance, not even a smile or a wave, not even a quick acknowledgement. Be like, hey guys, I can't stop, I gotta go. Nothing. He had like a quote unquote a security little ring around him, preventing anybody from saying hi or getting a picture or signing. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. I know you're a legend in your scene, Jeff Mills, but stop and give people a little wave, bro. Give people a little acknowledgement, like, fucking hell. Well, it continues, because look at this post. This is another example of why I feel like you shouldn't give these fucking techno DJs the fucking liberties of taking liberties. Look at this post. This is fucking great, right? This random guy on Twitter goes, hey Michael Bibi, Nick from LA here, hung with y'all in the trailer after the B3B. If I decided to fly from NY to Miami after my sister's wedding like a psycho, you think you could hook a brother up with guest list at space? Operation Get Nick Ass to Space. This random guy hits up Michael Bibi and says, hey, can you get me on a guest list for space if I fly down there now after my sister's wedding? Random Hail Mary on Twitter, added him in all sorts. And look what happens in the replies. Look what happens. Come on then. Booking the flight now, King. Booking the flight now, King. And it continues. How can I look? And he posts a screenshot of his fucking flight confirmation. New York, JFK airport to Miami, Miami back to New York. He literally flew down on a Monday after his sister's wedding, right? 6 a.m. and went straight to the club and then went back home on the Tuesday after in the evening. And obviously, Michael Bibi put him on guest list, DM you. Absolutely incredible scenes. And you can actually go on the guy's fucking Twitter. You can actually see him or some random person post a clip of him in the back there. Look, there he is in the back, dancing in the booth as Michael Bibi plays. So a lot of these guys in my scene will look down on a Michael Bibi, right? They look down on Tech House, they look down on Tech House Bros, they look down on that scene. They have a superiority complex, but look how nice he is. Yes, the guy made the most effort by booking the ticket and going there last minute, but still the fact that Michael Bibi followed through, because people say this all the time, yes, I'll put in the guest list, you know, yes, it's fine, no problem. They don't necessarily follow through. The fact that he followed through says a lot about him. The fact that he followed through says so much about him, and it's fucking amazing to see. Big up Blood Clot Michael Bibi. Honestly, what a fucking legend. And as you can see in the guy's Twitter, right? You can actually see, look, there's a post of his sister's wedding. You actually see him at his sister's wedding, right? Big up his sister, bless her. Congratulations on her fucking marriage. And then somehow, when you scroll up, when you fucking scroll up, you see him in the booth. Look at that. Yo, these Jews are sick. Look at this. He's in the booth. He's actually at fucking Space Miami having a fucking blast. I absolutely love it. 3 days later, spring, and I think there's a clip as well here. There he is there as well. This, what's that? There's so much Fent at Bibi. It's hilarious. Absolutely love it. Honestly, big up this kid. Let me actually play some clips actually of him there. There's actually a compilation of clips. Quick little pit stop in Miami was a fever dream. Got to see some great friends and family, and finally meet some of you nut jobs. Love you all. See you at the Art Basel. Oh, and special shout out goes to Michael Bibi for making it all happen. By the way, I think they're called burners or something, right? I don't know why they're called burners. Someone tell me on screen in the comments later on. But I absolutely love the tech house community on Twitter. So most of them are anonymous accounts, right? Because they don't want to fucking get hotted up by their workplaces, and they're fucking psychos. They post baggies and shit. These motherfuckers post baggies and spoons and fucking baggies of 2C. They love 2C, right? I don't know why, but for some reason Americans love 2C. So they're all on the 2C and shit. But they literally all they talk about is music. They follow Pausa, they follow solid groups entirely, Michael Bibi. They follow I don't know, Mal P, the other guy from Brazil, I forgot his name, not Moshak, but the other dude from Brazil. They are on it. Like, I love that community of people on fucking Twitter, man. They really make it a community affair. There's a bunch of them. They meet up at certain places. They love Space Miami. They're a fucking lit little crew. I'm not gonna lie. Let me play a couple of these clips here. There's a picture here of Space Miami, which I actually want to go to one day. It looks like a vibe. I'm not gonna lie. Space Miami looks like a fucking vibe. One life, live it. And let's see a video here. We got Michael Bibi. I'm not gonna lie, it must be way funner to play for Americans, this type of music, because this is not probably something they're not used to, but they don't take it for granted, you know? They don't take this sort of music for granted. We do, because we see, you know, this level of DJing in London, especially tech house, all over the country, really, especially the UK. There's clubs all over the place. People have their own little labels and stuff. Club nights popping off most weekends that play this sort of stuff. But in America, this type of house, this type of tech house must be so rare to find. So it must be kind of cool having all these big artists there. Like, they love touring. I've got the other guys too. There's another big dude who's from here, who also has a YouTube channel. Actually, he does some really cool vlogs, and he plays out there too. But it's a really cool little tech house scene over there in America. I'm not gonna lie, man. That's why I'm not surprised people like Pausa and stuff. Like, it feels like Pausa for most of the year, he's always either in Ibiza or in America. He doesn't really come to parts of the UK too much, you know, which also makes sense why they sell out so quickly here, because I'd imagine, you know, you could tour all across America year in, year out and make bucket load of money because of how big that place is, and not get tired, you know, and not really exhaust your audience either. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially when you think about the seasons. Let's see, one more clip here, one more clip. Let's see what the other clip is saying. Space Miami looks like a vibe, I'm not gonna lie. Big up Michael Bibi. So good to see a smile on his face, having fun. Space Miami looks like one of the only American clubs that I've seen where it actually looks like a fun time, regardless of the fucking phones and shit. You know, a lot of these American clubs, and when people have their phones out, they're not really dancing. But I think I saw a conversation about people having online on Twitter specifically around the pillars or the platform, sorry, at Space Miami, and some girls were like, "Hey, those platforms are not for sitting down; they're for dancing." And they took a picture of some dudes that are sitting on them and basically, kind of publicly shaming them and calling them out. I was like, "Raw, this is pretty cool to see." And I'm not really liking the public call out, but I do like the idea of girls being like, "Hey, this is for dancing. Don't sit on this, this is for vibes only. Like, get off this. If you want to sit down, go fucking home." I ain't mad at it. But it's still got, because it's in Miami, it's still got that kind of Miami kind of vibe around it, right? The girls are the fucking massive platforms. They still have fucking tables, I think, and whatever. But it still feels like a club. I like that mix. I don't know how they did it, maybe because it's really small, but I do like this feel of it. And obviously the kind of like the foyer outdoor bit as well is pretty cool, right? It's like an open air club kind of vibe. It kind of reminds you, I've got that club in North London in England. We've got, that's just a similar sort of vibe. But big up Michael Bibi. Big up Blood Clot Michael Bibi. Big up Blood Clot Michael Bibi. And don't accept any rudeness from these fucking DJs. Personally, if I was you and you're out there, number one, don't be sending unsolicited DMs and messages to people you don't know. Try and strike up a relationship, a conversation, get me? Try and get a little bit friendly and shit before you just jump in there with fucking guest list requests. I'm not really the biggest fan of guest list requests anyways. I think you just allow it. I think if somebody offers them, it's one thing, but I think if you are going out and stalking people's fucking RA fucking gig list and shit, finding out where they're playing and ask, it's just a little bit lame. I'm not gonna lie. It's also inconsiderate because you're thinking you're the only person that matters when they have their own friends they want to put, I don't know, all that sort of shit, blah 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 blah. Long story less long, I feel like if you get treated like shit by a DJ, you should probably find somebody else to be a fan of. You know what I mean? There's so many DJs out there that need fans, that want a following, that want people to check out what they're doing. Why waste your time on somebody that clearly doesn't give a fuck about you and thinks that they are somehow above you because they can know how to press pause and play or cue and play on a fucking CDJ? It's not really that deep. Give people, and the really annoying thing about this situation is, personally for me, is that I'm one of those people, and I'm sure some of you guys are the same. If I get one decent interaction with somebody and they're nice, I'm your ride or die forever. There's certain DJs out there who they know who they are. I've had one brief interaction with them and you cannot say a bad thing about these people in my fucking company. Never in a million years, because they did me this solid of, like, I don't know, double tapping my comment, saying hi back, writing me a couple of lines, bloody blah blah blah, some empty comment, some like, cliche compliment that I really fucking took to heart. It really isn't that difficult to convert somebody into a super fan, but just acknowledge them a little bit. You don't have to continue the conversation forever, but just a little bit of acknowledgement. It's not that deep. And also, you're not fucking, these people aren't Drake famous, and they feel like they don't have time to kind of just hit you back and be like, yeah, cool, thanks for checking me out. Come on, man, come on, do yourself a favor. But again, what do I know? What do I know? Absolutely nada. One thing that I do know is I want to congratulate Grace Wells Bonner. Big up Grace Wells Bonner. What a fucking amazing news to fucking hear throughout the week. Big up Grace Wells Bonner. Hermès picks Grace Wells Bonner to design menswear. The British designer will succeed Veronique Nishan or Nashian Veronique Nashanian as the brand's creative director for men's ready-to-wear, becoming the first black woman to lead a design at major European luxury house. That last line is kind of depressing, I'm not going to lie, right? For all the great black designers, especially women that have come throughout the last few years and shit, for her to be the only and the first is like, ugh. But we rise, we fucking lift up our fist, and we're fucking proud and happy for our sis over here. Big up Grace Wells Bonner. This is really cool because there was a bunch of big jobs in fashion that a lot of people, myself included, felt like Grace Wells Bonner was overlooked for and probably should have been in contention for. But in the end, for her to get the Hermès menswear job is probably the perfect fit for Grace Wells Bonner, especially when you think about some of the campaigns, you think of some of the accessories, you think of some of the fabrication, you think of some of the fucking tailoring, you think of some of the cuts, the casting. I think she's gonna kill it. And Hermes is like one of those type of brands where they never do too much on the runway. It's always kind of, you know, kind of hits out the park for the most part. But in terms of it being culturally relevant, in terms of menswear, it probably isn't in the conversation. But they're obviously going to be they're obviously going to tap her in for that sort of thing. But what they're also going to get is a very, very accomplished designer. You know, so it's not just merely a thing of like, oh, we want you to get us back in the algorithm or to get us culturally relevant again, have the right people on the front row, have the right people wearing our brand on the red carpet, have the right people in social media pushing the product. No, it's still going to be that, but it's still going to be somebody who knows to actually cut, who knows to actually sew, who knows to actually design clothes, who knows to actually tell a story, you know. Like, and obviously the black side of things too is going to be fucking phenomenal. I cannot wait to see how that narrative is kind of weaved through, right? Being able to kind of look through the archives and find some reference of someone from, you know, a far-flung place that maybe repped or was a part of Hermes's history, and bringing that fucking person to the forefront, you know, maybe highlighting some products we haven't possibly overlooked or heard of. I don't know, it's going to be fucking amazing. I'm really fucking looking forward to this appointment. This is one of the appointments to get really excited for, and if I'm not mistaken, the debut is 2027 too, which I think is perfect because it gives her enough time to kind of get her feet under the table, get settled, iron out all the fucking wrinkles, and debut with enough time under her belt to put together a really strong debut and to kind of go on from there. No rush, no necessary. Move slow, move with intention, but then once you come out, boom, everybody knows what time you're on. But I'm sure most of you guys know what time Grouse Wells Bonner is on regardless. But big up Grouse Wells Bonner. The article courtesy of Business of Fashion says as follows: British designer Grace Wells Bonner has been named the creative director of men's ready-to-wear at French leather goods giant Hermès, becoming the first black woman to serve as a creative director at a major luxury house. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of this conversation regarding the lack of like women designers, especially black designers, because I feel like in general the conversation should be around inclusivity, diversity across the board. Because for the most part, most of the people that are getting these big jobs are white, right? Whether they're male or female. I think everybody else should be having a opportunity, should have the opportunity to put their hat in a ring too. So we get different flavors, we get different presentations, different final products, different inspirations on the runway, so that everything is not just the same, coming from the same point of view, coming from the same reference point, you know. So it's a bit, you know, whatever, but I do understand, especially with this current influx of new creative directors, how important it was also to have somebody from that particular group of people in terms of black women that was also represented. So it's fucking great to see Gross Old Bonner doing her thing out there, so big up her. So it says Gross Old, and also to be fair as well, as great as the brand is like on social media in terms of the Adidas collaborations and shit, I feel like she's also a bit of a quiet designer. So I feel like that goes, it's another kind of nod for people that just like put their head down and work, you know. She's got a very unique and very specific point of view, a very unique and specific way of telling her story, of telling a story, and that's what has been for the moment she burst onto the scene. And it hasn't really been a lot of games and antics and social media shit and crash outs and you know what I mean, attempts at going viral. It's just been really good product, really good fucking product, you know, season in, season out, collab in, collab out. Like that Adidas stuff sells itself, you know. The Adidas line she got sells itself. So I think this is a real good kind of like tipping of the hat, dusting off of the shit of the fucking shoulder for those of us out there who are just working. No fanfare, no fucking gimmicks, no games, just working. And she got rewarded. Big up Gross World Bonner. But then again, I don't know what's going to be on the scene. She might have applied for all of the jobs. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Or she might have tried all of the antics. But so far, from what I've been able to observe, I feel like she's just been about designing great clothes. And she's been rewarded with probably the best job of the bunch. Or the job that probably suits her and her aesthetic, you know, or her design sensibilities the most. I don't think there's going to be as big of a jump to kind of, you know, do what she does at her own namesake brand and kind of filter it through into Hermès. Anyway, I'll give her interpretation of the Hermès codes. Wells Bonner succeeds veteran designer Veronique Nishian, who is exiting the company after 37 years. That's a good job, bro. That's a good salary, honestly. big up Gross Bonner. That's going to I'm assuming the access to the factories and whatever else, maybe manufacturing technique studios, and just the salary alone, I'd imagine, will also uplift Gross Bonner. So don't be surprised if that namesake brand pops up. Hopefully she still does it. I've got a feeling she probably won't. Maybe she'll probably siphon it off to the studio and focus entirely on Hermès, but I hope she does try to do both at the same time and juggle them. I'm sure she's got a good team around her as well to help with that, but I cannot wait to see how this develops. Wells Bonner, who's a Jamaican ancestry, studied at London's Central St. Martin's before rising to prominence with her namesake label founded in 2014. Known for her intellectual, even academic style approach to style, her work has explored a broad range of references linked to post-colonial narratives and black diaspora through tailoring, sportswear, and lucrative sneakers and streetwear collaboration with Adidas. Honestly, I cannot imagine she does a three-way collab. Grace Wells Bonner, Adidas, and Hermès. Hermès leather on Adidas Sambas. Hermès leather on fucking Adidas Stan Smith. Like, can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine if that's the case? Fucking hell. You know what's really interesting as well? Can I say this without it sounding odd? Does anybody else get the vibe that Grace Wells Bonner is like a black Margaret Howe? Or is that an insult to Margaret Howe? Or is that an insult to Grace Wells Bonner? I always get the feeling they're kind of the same sort of ilk in terms of who they design for, what stories they're trying to tell, kind of, you know, I don't know, finding a way to kind of display their ancestry and their background and clothing and shit. I don't know. I always get that kind of vibe from Grace Wells Bonner. A little bit of Margaret Howell about her going forward. Previous collection cited photographer Malik Sidibe's portraits of post-independence life in Bamako and 1970s West African dance scene, while incorporating craft techniques ranging from the Savaro tailoring to beadwork and crochet. Wells Bonner won the LVMH prize in 2016, followed by accolades from the Council of Fashion Designers in America, British Fashion Councils. In 2022, she was made an MBE for her services for fashion. Fucking hell, she's already got an MBE. Also, that's fucking, she won the LVMH prize 2 years after founding her label. Fucking hell. Wells Bonner started her brand in menswear collection before expanding into women's wear in 2018. She staged her first fashion show in Paris since joining the FHCM official calendar in January 2023. So it's been a slow build, isn't it? She didn't officially join that calendar until a few years later. Her collaboration with Adidas played a role in bringing the terrace sneaker back into fashion, with flat soled styles like the Samba powering sales off of the German brand, as well as showing up on the runway in recent seasons. Prada, Dries Van Noten and more. Honestly, that Samba, man, like, it's transcended fashion. I think that's when you know you've hit it. There are people outside of fashion that like to wear her Sambas. I would love to know the sales figures. She must have killed it with those early Sambas, man. Nowadays, the collection I'm not really the biggest fan of, some of the silhouettes she's gonna go for, but the earlier, those first few collections of Sambas, I can't imagine. Wells Bonner's designs were included in the Met Costume Institute 2025 exhibition, Superfine Tailoring Black Style, and she dressed Lewis Hamilton for his opening gala, and she also curated exhibitions for London's Serpentine Gallery and New York's MoMA. In a year of creative shake-ups that have seen most of the luxury fashion biggest brands change designers, the industry has been criticized for choosing to reshuffle familiar names who are mostly white and male. Hermès, a tradition-steeped company still controlled by a sixth generation of its founding family, may have not been the most expected place for breakthrough appointment. Exactly. That's actually a really good point, right? The fucking family still owned the company, right? And they decided to kind of go down this route. Go from somebody as a story designer, 37 years in. I'm sure Veronique has a fucking, very long CV in the industry, studied at all the right schools, to go for somebody as a hot new name, a black woman, is a real big risk on their part. I wonder, I think she's gonna kill it. I wonder if you're Jerry Lorenzo, are you a little bit annoyed by this? Because I know Jerry Lorenzo did some work with Hermès, right? He did a collaboration, Fear of God. I wonder if Jerry Lorenzo was doing a soft interview for Hermès, but didn't end up getting the job. I wonder if that collaboration that he did with Hermès was that like a soft interview that never really kind of materialized, because I kind of liked some of that stuff. It looked, of course, a bit samey than what he already does, but I did kind of like it. I'm not going to lie. Some of the silhouettes, some of the quality you can see just from looking at the fucking lookbook images was fucking stupendous. I'm not too sure how much of that stuff actually made it into retail, but still, I wonder if you're Jerry Lorenzo, are you a little bit upset? Do you think you deserve the job more than the fucking what's her name, Grace Walls Bonner? I wonder. The brand does have history with tapping thought-provoking creatives to lead its fashion lines. The radical conceptual brand designer Margiela True revamped women's wear in the late 1990s, succeeded by the campy couture technician of Jean-Paul Gaultier, known for his inclusive representations of gender and sexuality. Christopher Lemaire cited workwear, postwear intellectuals and Asian martial artist Nadine Nadejivani, a brand's current women's wear chief since 2014, supplements the brand's equestrian heritage to create a modern vesture injecting sportiness, sensuality, hints of punk and kink. Yo, I cannot wait to see what she does with the bags. I cannot wait to see what Gross Walls Bonner does with the bags. I cannot wait, because I have a feeling if she kills it with the bags, it's going to be a wrap. Because I'm seeing a lot, big up fucking Adam Port, I'm seeing a lot of DJs now carrying fucking Hermès Birkin bags as their DJ bag, which is so fucking chic, so fucking cool. I'm definitely going to do that when I get to a level of being able to afford one. So I can't wait to see what her interpretation, her representation, her translation of a Hermès Birkin or whatever else it may be bag will be going forward, especially for men and shit. I forgot what the actual brand is, what the name is for the men, but I remember seeing Adam Port carrying one recently too. That was fucking brilliant. Meanwhile, Veronique Nashian has honed the brand's menswear image since 1988. Jesus Christ. Designing at one house since 1988 is fucking crazy. With forward-thinking, polished take on French nonchalance and integrating technical innovation and ultra-luxurious expression of craft in a trend-agnostic yet youthful wardrobe. The quote, Walls Bonner's take on contemporary fashion and craft and culture have contributed to a shaping Hermès men's style, melding the house's heritage with a confident look on the now. Hermès General Artistic Director Pierre-Alexis Dumas, who oversees the brand's various creative chiefs, got Grace's appetite and curiosity for artistic practice strongly resonates with Hermès' creative mindset and approach. We are at the start of an enriching and mutual dialogue. I love that line, bro. Mutual dialogue. I love that line. They're in it for the long haul. They're in it to see what she wants to do. They're really down for it. I love that. Soft-spoken and meticulous, research-obsessed, Walls Bonner has even publicly stated that she hopes to design for the house like Hermès one day. Yeah, this is the quote, innit? This is the quote here. Somebody posted this quote here. Big up this person. Big up Mario Abda. This is from a sister magazine. A dream of mine would be to work with a brand like Hermès or even a Savile Row tailoring house, as that is at the core of what I'm doing. So that was her interpretation. She was making her modern interpretation of what Hermès were doing on her level, and now she's going to have access. Imagine, this is like giving people that don't have budget, you know? This is going to be so incredible. I'm really looking forward to what she's going to do. Really fucking looking forward to it. Big up Grace Walls Bonner, man. It's a dream realized to embark on this new chapter following a lineage of inspired craftspeople and designers. I wish to express my gratitude to Pierre-Alexis Dumas and Axel Dumas for the opportunity to bring my vision to this magical house, the designer said in a statement. Hermès has outperformed the broader luxury sector in recent years, buoyed by the persistent demand for its flagship Birkin bags, as well as more accessibly priced staples like the double bracelets and the anchor chain jewelry. Sales in Hermès ready-to-wear and accessories division grew 15% last year to 4.4 billion. And already we know Grace Walls Bonner is a fucking seller. I don't know how much her actual mainline sells, but we know she's a fucking seller when it comes to collabs. So I'm assuming, and to be fair, I do see a lot of people wearing Grace Walls Bonner out and about, especially if you go to Central or you go to certain kind of fashion parties. You do see a lot of people wearing it. I think she's going to be able to build on this easy, man. Let's just go for one collection recently. Let's go for spring 2026 menswear, all right? And let's also go for fall 2025 menswear. I think she's gonna kill. I think she's gonna kill it. I think she's gonna be able to build off the back of what Veronique did. Easy peasy, man. Easy peasy. I can see her doing something with stuff like this. Like, come on, man. She's gonna kill it. She's gonna kill it. She's gonna kill it. Some of her silhouettes, her cuts, colors. Again, some of the background and inspirations and themes that she comes with is going to really give it the spice and the pep that it needs to really elevate some of these what you'd maybe seem to be menswear basics up another level. Some of the honestly, the footwear, the accessories, the styling is going to be so on point. I cannot wait, man. I cannot fucking wait. And that's something that you're always excited to see, like quote unquote designers who get access to, you know, luxury houses and what they're able to produce at that level, you know, at that grand level, even when it comes to shows and shit. So I think she's gonna fucking kill it. I'm really fucking curious and eager to see her present, which I think is gonna be 2027. I think I checked out a video from what's his face, Fashion Roadman, and he said the debut collection is gonna be 2027, if I'm not mistaken. So we still got some time. This is some full 2025 pieces. Come on, man. You don't think she's gonna kill it? Like, she's gonna fucking destroy it over there, man. She's gonna absolutely destroy it. We're going to have some amazing soundtracks at Hermès shows. We're going to have some great fucking front rows, some great campaigns, some interesting activations. I'm curious to see what the social media is going to end up looking like. What models she's going to choose to be her muse, male or female, they, them, or in between. It's going to be so fascinating to kind of see this play out, honestly. So fascinating. Big up fucking Gross Old Bonner. Rocking, great to see. Great to see. Can't wait to see what she does when she eventually gets her keys to the door. Big up Grace Wales Bonner. Big up Grace Wales Bonner. You're a legend. You're a G. You're a legend. You're a blood clot G. Talking about being a legend, talking about being a G, let's talk about Tyler the Creator. Let's talk about Tyler the Creator. It started with this one post. So as some of you guys know, Tyler the Creator's been getting cancelled on social media. Tyler's been getting cancelled around his old tweets, and people discovering, I think recently, that he may have said some problematic quote-unquote anti-black things in the past and not really liking his dating preferences and blah 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 blah, whatever else it may be. Now this all started off the back of this very heartfelt and I thought amazing tribute to fucking D'Angelo on Instagram. Tyler posted this really heartfelt post where he basically spoke about how much D'Angelo meant to him, which I read of course before, which I thought was very, very well done. And for whatever reason, his fans decided to pile on in the fucking comments and talk about how much they wanted a new album, how much they didn't fucking care about D'Angelo, and just turned it into a cesspool of negativity and nonsense, when obviously he was paying tribute to an absolute musical legend that is D'Angelo, who unfortunately passed away a couple of weeks ago, right? Or like a week ago, or no, maybe this week, whatever it was. RIP to D'Angelo. So everyone was really upset about, you know, that tribute turning into what it turned into. And then a lot of people were like, oh, we saw some, what I guess people would deem to be anti-black comments in maybe some of the replies, which they didn't like. And then I think Tyler made the mistake of liking this tweet on Twitter, which basically said the following. Somebody posted something on Twitter and said, Tyler's fan base hates black music, despite Tyler himself having a very deep love and appreciation for it. Nigga has Charlie Wilson, Erykah Badu, DJ Drama, etc. collaborations, and they still refuse to engage with black art or any meaningful level. Very cannibalistic. And obviously Tyler liked it, and somebody posted, oh my god, Tyler liked my comment. Now the issue was, from what I've been able to, you know, decipher, is that people were like, hey, you can't necessarily say that because you're the ones that educated your fan base to be like this. You're the one that made them be somewhat quote-unquote anti-black, somewhat edgy, somewhat contrarian when it comes to their point of views in music. You're the one that did this. So you can't now turn around and act like you don't understand what's going on, or you're surprised. You're the one that kind of made your fans this way. And the lack of kind of, you know, some understanding, maybe some acceptance about the mess that he created. Now obviously it's hard to kind of get that across on Twitter, but people decided to kind of run with it and decided to post up loads of examples where Tyler has said some questionable things on social. One tweet in particular that he deleted It said the following here. Somebody posted, I hate the black dude from Victorious who allegedly is Leon Thomas. I didn't watch Victorious. I think it's some Nickelodeon show, and Leon Thomas was in it, and he just randomly posted this, right? And then somebody quote tweeted and said, all right, bro, and he deleted it. That tweet is gone. Another post that people didn't like was people brought up all these images back in the day of when Tyler was in his edgier phase, right? Of him wearing a faux Ku Klux Klan outfit, him, you know, covering himself in white paint and doing the quote-unquote Nazi salute, him covering himself in white paint again to look white, him having a kind of gollywog iconography on a hat that says golf wang, right? So a lot of people were pointing out some of these things that he may have done in the past. People pointing out old tweets like this from February the 3rd, 2011 that says R. Kelly peed on a fucking child and got away with it. That is the most swagged out shit I've ever heard in my life, right? So people really piling on to fucking Tyler the Creator. Me personally, I don't really like this pylon. I don't like this cancel train that's going on with Tyler, because I feel like this has been like a constant thing for the last couple of years. I felt within the zeitgeist, within the UEFA, there's been this wanting to like cancel Tyler the Creator. Maybe it's just me. I honestly feel like there's been a real undercurrent, a desire for Tyler to get cancelled, for Tyler to get the fuck out of here. Now, I don't know why in particular, but I think musically, we don't want that, because he makes some of the most interesting and better music out there. Live shows, I don't want that, because he's one of the best live performers out there. And just in terms of a personality, in quote unquote hip hop, I think his voice is very much needed. But it does feel like there is a effort being made by some people, I don't know who they are, to try and cancel Tyler the Creator. I felt like it's been happening for a while. Some of you probably have felt the same way. I just think that this is the wrong way to go about it, because it's clear to see over the last few years that Tyler has not only matured, but he's definitely evolved into a completely different person than what he once was, that we all maybe fell in love with, right? That guy that ate the fucking cockroach is not the same kid that we know now. They're completely different people. So I think people to go out of their way to try and dig up old tweets in an effort to, I don't know what, stop his musical career, make him unalive himself or something, I think is a little bit over the top. I think the best indicator of change behavior is people action, right? And I think throughout his action, no statement, no nothing, he has definitely shown us that he's kind of learned from his quote unquote mistakes, just evolved and grown up as a person. I don't even think they're even mistakes, just things that he said when he was younger. Nowadays he probably wouldn't say those type of things. He probably cringes himself out saying those type of things. I think he's been on record in many interviews saying how much he cringes and he's kind of like embarrassed at some of his previous interviews about what he said. Now, I've also seen people being very critical of his interviews lately, right? The kind of matter of fact, almost contrarian, snobby, elitist, kind of like gatekeeper way that he speaks about certain things, but he's always spoken that way. He's always spoken with a level of confidence and assurance when it comes to music and how seriously he takes his art, which is why people like myself are such big fans of his. But some people nowadays are not really liking it, because I guess we're in the era of like humility and whatever else it may be. People are not really jacking that sort of vibe. That's okay. You're not allowed to like enjoy all these interviews or like his point of view, but to try and chastise him over these old tweets is like, come on, bro, come on. He's changed as a person, he's evolved, he doesn't even move like this anymore. I don't really think it's an issue. If people have a problem with his dating preference, I can kind of understand where that's coming from, because I'm a very open-minded person. I don't really give a fuck what people do, but I can't lie, I have a hard time listening to someone like a Doja Cat, because I know she has this weird kink where she just likes anybody white. It's not even good looking white guys, it's just like anybody white. If a guy looks like a fucking whatever, she's into it. But black guys she doesn't seem to kind of vibe with too much, which again, maybe it's her upbringing, it's completely different, but it's just a bit difficult to kind of get into someone like that who seems to not enjoy or like the half of her that is more similar to me, sort of thing. It's a bit odd. So I can understand why that can kind of influence or taint the way you listen to somebody. But I think when it comes to music, you really have to you really have to try your hardest to put that thing to one side and just listen to the music. Just listen to the artistry. And if the artistry is of a level that you love and you enjoy it. I think everything else is just pure noise, in my personal opinion. Just pure and utter noise. And for lack of a better term, Tyler's one of the good eggs. Tyler's one of the good ones. Honestly. Let's actually read the article where they kind of summarize some of this stuff that happened. We got Rolling Stone. Let's hear what they have to say. I'm sure this is not going to be good. Tyler Creator is trapped in an online discourse vortex. It says in 2015, alongside the release of his fourth album, Cherry Bomb, Tyler Creator released a limited edition zine featuring interviews with figures like Seth Rogen, which I've got actually up there, ephemera related to the album, such as a scan of a Moleskine notebook in which he jotted down ideas. He dedicates a few pages in the book to highlight the album he'd been most influenced by, which is Clips, Hell Have No Fury, Throughout In My Mind, and instructively D'Angelo 2000's masterpiece Voodoo. In his write-up about the late R&B luminary's album, Tyler recalls getting $30 from his grandmother on his 9th birthday to buy the CD. Last week, following D'Angelo's tragic passing, Tyler took to Instagram to pay tribute to the artist who had made an impact on his music early on. After a heartfelt post in which they reiterated much of what he wrote 10 years ago, comments came rushing in, either dismissing the post or clamoring for new music or questioning who D'Angelo was in the first place. As he often does, Tyler took to Twitter and criticized a segment of his fan base he pejoratively called sun seekers, aka the white fans who are unaware of D'Angelo's legacy. A post from another popular hip-hop news aggregator, Koroku, pointed out that Tyler himself liked a tweet that stated, "Niggas has Charlie Wilson, Erica, but Now, I'm not the biggest fan of insulting your fan base and calling them sun seekers, right? Because those are a big part of his fans, the white fans. I don't think that's nice, you know? I don't think that's cool to be like chastising your white fans because they're not into some of your blacker influences. I don't think that's fair. But again, what do I know? The argument had emerged suggested that Tyler the Creator, in his early highly offensive Odd Future work, cultivated a fan base of white incels who were inherently hostile to black. I wouldn't say he cultivated white incels. I just think he kind of leaned into the edgier side of things, the contrarian side of things, you know, the needing to be confrontational, combative side of things, right? The questioning of things, the why of things, the annoying thing, you know, that kind of personality that Joe Budden didn't necessarily like when he bumped into the elevator that one time. I don't think I'd call it incel though. The refrain was that he should have expected those reactions from his D'Angelo tribute, has no one to blame but himself. The evidence for this was tweets and screenshots from his earlier career, when Tyler did everything to from criticizing George Floyd protests to pulling edgy stunts like dressing in a clown robe and selling merch featuring the rendering of an offensive Sambo figure. More than provocation from an artist conveying a particular misguided form of radicalized postmodern angst, these moments have come to serve as proof that Tyler himself hates himself and his own blackness, his type of conversation tailor-made for the internet. I don't think that's fair. I don't think he hates himself. I think we loved that version of Tyler when he first came out. So we have to kind of look ourselves in the mirror too and question some of our tastes and stuff. We all loved it. We loved it. That was also that was the time when Tyler the Creator made himself into the person that he is now. That was the start of the journey. I mean, the start of Camp Flognar and everything else he was doing. So let's not act like that was just done out of sight, out of mind. We all were aware what he was saying, his points of views, and He came out many a time, spoke about how he's uncancelable and shit. He can say what the fuck he wants, and for the most part, he did and said what the fuck he wants. Now suddenly people have woken up and realized that some of the things were maybe a little bit whatever. I don't think it's fair to then say, "Oh, he should be cancelled for it." I think he's learned, he's evolved, he's changed as a person, and I think we should just carry on from there. But what do I know? The notion that Tyler cultivated an audience of white incels flies in the face of the many black fans that Odd Future had at the very beginning. This was a crew of black teenagers making sonically adventurous music that in fact garnered a great deal of young black listeners. That's to say nothing of the growth in Tyler Creator's audience over the past 15 years. Even if you take the argument of its face, it doesn't explain the contemporary fan base who mathematically outnumbered those early fans by now. It's also just revisionist history, agreed. On the same feed where Tyler Creator shared offensive outbursts in the 2010s, he expressed his admiration for the likes of Erica Badu and D'Angelo. The whole point then was that Tyler contained contradictions. The anger expressed in his music was not unlike Eminem, whose brash internal frustrations with masculinity fueled the most brilliant and simultaneously violent, misogynistic and homophobic music of his career. You were never supposed to take things literally. Exactly. And you can't have one without the other. You don't get this version, this polished, somewhat polished, refined, high level artistry of Tyler without the beginning stages. You don't get that. You have to have one to have the other. He has to have gone through that journey, and we've been able to witness it in real time. I think it's fucking been beautiful personally, but what do I know? Another one says here, logic of this talking point extends to its conclusion. The suggestion is that the past decade of work from Tyler, with its open embrace of both classic black musical forms as well as the more traditionalist rap, see that guy, as a buoyant take on Kendrick Lamar's Hey Now, it's all a ploy to latch onto a new black fans in order to remain relevant. I don't think so. I just think he's going back to his roots, which he started with. You know, he flirted with that kind of angst, anti-whatever black thing. It worked for him in the beginning, or just not even anti-black thing, just not being the same as everybody else and kind of making other types of music, allowing his fans to explore other things and not just being the same old rap influences, and then going back to it and kind of, you know, harkening back to the roots. I don't think there's a bad thing about that whatsoever. To believe this, you would simply have to. Didn't some of these hip hop people say they were pissed off that a lot of these kids don't know their roots or their history? And here's fucking, you know, Tyler the Creator essentially exposing his fan base to people like Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, who they would have never listened to prior. I think it's a good thing. To believe this, you would simply have to ignore anything that has occurred in real life and this relates to Tyler the Creator or future. You'd have to rely on the curated retelling of history rather than a lived experience, which is precisely where the internet lives. Tyler's love for hip-hop as an art form is the purest sense of the word, is almost annoyingly well documented. Exactly. I still think of that performance on fucking Jimmy Fallon, Rust. Come on, bro, you don't get a better fucking rap song than that. It's only last year when he got in the dust top with internet's white rapper of the month Ian calling out his style and effect as an offense during an interview with Maverick Carter. There's this white kid, regular Caucasian man, who's like mocking Future and Gucci rap music, and people are like, yo, this shit's hard, and it's like, bro, it's parody, it's not even trying to make rap better, he said, which, you know, I think he's been kind of proved right when it comes to Ian, because he's kind of come and gone really. Tyler booked Roy Ayers for Camp Flogna in 2017. Just this past month, after Roy Ayers' death, he shared a tribute to the neo-soul pioneer, calling him the base of my sound. All of this is to say that if anything, the average Tyler the Creator fan is more likely a huge snob about how much they appreciate artists like D'Angelo than a white kid who simply hates black music. Exactly. What clearly frustrated Tyler was that the commentators were more focusing on getting new music from him than on what they were actually posting. To be fair, he's always had this issue too. He's always had this issue. Every time he posts, everything's about new music. Every post he makes, even a little innuendo, people interpret it as the theme of a new album, as a new direction, new album title. And you have to make clear that, no, this is not it. I'm just posting a fucking picture of my fucking, you know, cinnamon roll. This is easily the most common problem faced by celebrities with their online fans, who are often so cravenly obsessed that they miss the bigger picture. It doesn't help that Tyler basically has been every other rapper to gain popularity in the past 20 years, has a large white audience, and a phenomenon that predates Tyler by at least a generation. However, it's a leap to call them incels, and unclear what the destination, a term focused on lonely white men and misogyny, would even mean in this context. Agreed. This is not even the first time in the past year that Tyler's told old material has resurfaced online, spawning a familiar Ouroboros of online discourse, shrouded in the language of accountability. Let's continue here. He rebuffed the controversy in typical fashion, declaring during the show in Boston, I got Swifties all mad at me with their racist ass, bitch, go listen to Troncat. With this latest flare-up, the venom was certainly more poignant. Tyler's relationship with blackness, from early claims that he encouraged white fans to say the N-word to disparaging comments that he's made about black women, is in many ways much more fertile ground for criticism. As such, TikTok creators have started weighing in with anecdotes about Tyler's alleged anti-blackness that of course dovetail into stories about their own lives. Yeah, and you know, those anecdotal stories you can't take, and I think most of it centers around his dating history as well. You know, there's been a lot of there's not been a lot of people that look like him in his dating history, which again shouldn't matter, not really, but you know, people are going to say what they're going to say. Last bit here, in fairness, many online commentators acknowledge some level of growth for Tyler's part, but suggest that since he has not publicly explicitly apologized for his past behavior, he has paid insufficient penance for his actions. No apology needed. The apology is his new outlook, is his new way he presents himself now. He doesn't need to apologize to anybody. He has already apologized vis-a-vis his fucking actions. He's done the work, in my personal opinion. This next round of condemnation has been widely described as Tyler receiving his lashings. It's in that language where we see what's really happening. Exactly. There is very obviously no excuse for this kind of post and commentary. Tyler was known for early in his career, but the internet is fueled by bloodlust, not justice. So much so that the tribute to D'Angelo has turned into a nearly week-long discussion about tweets from more than a decade ago. All the while, Chris Brown is on the stadium tour. Okay, let's relax with the fucking now. Honestly, the Chris Brown conversation, like, what do you want us to do, bro? Rihanna's moved on. He's moved on. What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? He didn't go black. What do you want us to do about Chris Brown? I don't get the Chris Brown thing. I don't get it. Like, Rihanna's forgiven him. She's moved on. He's moved on with his life. Like, I don't understand what you want us to do. Like, ay. The brand of discourse increasingly is prevalent in online spaces where it's whittle individuals down to the digestible data points is useless in having the actual productive conversation about anti-blackness or art or misogyny. It's all content meant to poke and prod at the complex issue central to identity. The more one-dimensionally you can paint somebody, the better. Whereas Tyler, the creator, may have ridden in a wave of optimism about the internet as a tool to give the voice to the misunderstood, it's grown into a force that decimates the nuance and context that make us human. Tyler, you did nothing wrong, mate. Tyler, you did absolutely nothing wrong. You're okay in my book. Okay, people, thank you so much for tuning in to the Action Zing Show, episode number 960. It's been a pleasure to have your company. Thank you for tuning in once again. Those of you listening to the podcast, the audio side of the pod, you will hear my song of the day. It's courtesy of Tame Impala, new album called Deadbeat out now. The song I'm playing for you, my song of the day, is going to be Afterthought. For those of you watching the show live via YouTube, you will be redirected to the random show, which I'll begin in a couple of minutes. Everybody else, the show will fade to black. I'm so happy to be back again in the hot seat. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. But for now, take care, be well, peace.